5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's the new Panic Room. It's the show other shows want to be, and the show that authors want to be on.
You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much love drives a man insane. You broke my will, oh what a thrill. Goodness, your records just quitting balls of fire. I let that love all I thought it was funny. You came along and you moved me, honey. I changed my mind, looking fine. Goodness gracious, just quitting balls of fire. You kissed me, baby. Ooh, it feels good. Hold me, baby. Girl, just let me love you like a lover should. You're fine, so kind. I'm gonna tell this world that you're mine. Balls of fire. Should. You're fine, so kind. I got to tell this world that you're mine. I treat my nails and I flip on my thumb. I'm real nervous because the show is fun. Come on, baby, drive me crazy. Goodness gracious, with balls of fire.
The all-new Panic Room radio show is brought to you by hellboundbooks.com.
Well, good evening. It's Thursday yet again, and rather bizarrely for the third week in a row, we have a thunderstorm here in Houston. So I'm beginning to think, I think we've offended somebody. I think we've probably offended baby Jesus or something, and he's sort of sending warnings or some such. But so yeah, again, if the power goes out, then it was baby Jesus' fault, bless him. And Jerry Lee we started with again. But last week we had technical problems. We did carry on with the show so we can have it up on iTunes and on YouTube, but listeners couldn't hear us, unfortunately. So if you did listen, and to be fair, if you're fed up with Jerry Lee Lewis, you're fed up with life for I'm concerned. So anywho, it is the new episode 146, 9:30 Central Time. I've had a week actually trying to deal with people from all over the country, some in Canada as well, and I never know what time it is. They got pissy. Oh, what you calling me this? Messaging me this time anymore. Well, that's like 9 o'clock for me. It's like 6 in the morning for them. Oh, I don't know. It's just all confusing for me, little old British me. But speaking of easily confused.
Come on, I'm with you.
Oh, hello. How are you, my dear?
I'm good, and that was perfect, the way you introduced me. You know, speaking of easily confused, and I am. Yeah.
Bless your little heart. Yes, you are, aren't you? Yes, you are.
We came back from break last week, and instead of hitting my button to unmute myself, I hung up. So, you know.
You did, and that was. It's all part of your charm, you know, this stupidity, and I think the listeners kind of like it.
Yeah, they have to keep coming back.
Well, they do actually. And I tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to hit this button because it links very nice between the stupidity and Britain and probably the best 5 hours of television filmed in a shit long time. I'm going to hit this.
Grab him by the pussy.
You know what uranium is, right? It's a thing called nuclear weapons and other things. Like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's 3 things. It's just, I've forgotten the first. Obviously, the stupidity. Donald Trump has been visiting England for the D-Day. It was certainly not really a celebration, but the D-Day remembrance over there. And this it offends. I'm not easily offended. Anybody who knows me, anybody who listens to the show, I am probably the most difficult person on the planet to offend. However, you know, the massacre of the grave, the remembrance of literally thousands of soldiers who died in the Normandy landings. You know, Trump decided that would be a good place and a good time to somebody stuck a microphone in his face to denounce Mueller. I and again, I apologize if there's anybody out there who's more easily offended than me, and if Donald is listening, Donald J. Trump, you are a cunt, and that's all I'm going to say on that one. Brings me to obviously the uranium part of that. I can't remember the first time I got to that. Chernobyl. I've watched. I don't know. Did you see the final episode, Xtina?
We watched it last
I don't want
night.
to spoil it if you did.
No,
I mean, wow, what a phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember 86. I think was it 86 or was it 87? Anyway, I remember it. And the aftermath and the cloud. Literally watching the news on the cloud, and it was heading our way. We got some of the highlands in England in the northwest. Did actually get some of it. It was so incredible. As a writer, you know, you appreciate good writing. Really well written, terrifying. The fact that at the end of the day it came out, it was caused by not just human error, but absolute pig-headedness. And I think, you know, the key guy that took the fall for it, you know, who wanted it, he had a promotion in mind, or you know, you have to think that he really did things he should have done for his own self-interest. However, you know, the Soviet regime created that situation that he was in. So, you know, it runs right to the top. You know, from the cover-up, they still maintain only 31 people died as a consequence of Chernobyl. God. unofficial estimates put it in the hundreds of thousands. You know, people cancer rates in children skyrocketed. You know, the firemen, all the people. You know, there's just.
Yeah,
the generations to come will be seeing the aftermath of Chernobyl.
You know, and when it finished up, when you know the ending credits World Bar or whatever, I was like the boyfriend was like, that was good, and I just remember thinking, I don't know what to say. Like, I mean, it was good, and I was, you know, watching with, you know, my eyes huge and just like, you know, but I don't know if I would say good just because of what it was, you know, and it was real. That I would say it was well done. You know, it was it was grim viewing, and having that behind the scenes look at what happened. You know, I you know, obviously the Soviets covered up a hell of a lot. You know, it was kind of leaking out. Obviously, when the scientist guy actually stood up and said what he stood up and it went public. You know, as it leaked out that it was possibly human error, it was this, and to be fair, also in the West, we put it down to it was, you know, cranky old Soviet technology, but it was more basic than that. It was absolute, and you know, the guy bullied his crew into doing what they knew shouldn't be done, and it was just an unfortunate coming together of event, like I say, the shift change because it was delayed by 10 hours and just this catalogue of things that just stacked up to that one critical. And in the final episode, again, apologies if people who listen haven't seen it, when he goes through literally second by second the stages, you know, like five. This had happened 5 seconds before, and then they hit that button and bang! And this is why it happened, and it was like, wow. Because you know, I actually did A-level environmental science. We studied nuclear reactors, you know, so I had a rough idea of the basics of how they work. You know, you boil it down, if pardon the pun. It's simple. You know, they put uranium together and it heats and it creates steam, and it's as simple as that. You know. But obviously, it's a little more detailed than that. But yeah, and I, you know, remembering and living through that, you know, and it was. But I think the thing that got me was the potential for disaster. Had it gone into complete meltdown, it would have rendered a massive chunk of that continent uninhabitable for hundreds and hundreds of years. It would have killed many, 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 many more. You know, and the sacrifices that they made. The sacrifices from the people who knew what they were, you know, but that part, the miners and the divers, the 3 divers, and they knew. You know, it wasn't even, you know.
I think he said at the end credits, I think, that's like, you know, so like 60% of the miners died, and, you know, a lot died. And it's just like, it was just so, but again, and then sadly, on, I think it was FX, Fox FX, the Hot Zone, which was, ironically, was about the Ebola outbreak in 1809. When Ebola actually made it to the States. And I watched the first couple of those, and then I started watching Chernobyl. And Chernobyl just knocked it so much into a cocked hat, it just put me off watching it. Because it was almost, it was like it was just very sanitized, very Hollywoodized, but whereas Chernobyl was just like, it was gritty. I mean, you know, the only way they could have made it any more authentic would have been to have them speaking Russian or Ukrainian, and having subtitles. But I said actually the control room was actually a decommissioned control room, or control of a decommissioned power plant in Russia, funnily enough. So that they were that authentic, and you know, they to the finest detail. So so there you go. So anybody who's not seen it, and we've not spoiled it for you, then watch it. Then watch it. It was great. So apart from that, Xtina, what? Oh, hang on. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. You know, and I'm gonna press. You know what's coming.
What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I always have
a feeling you think I should know what's up. And the only thing I can think of that that is because it's so fresh in my mind is that Peed, the audiobook, which it just went live today, I think, was it? And so that's exciting. Peed by James H Longmore.
I'm told it is a bloody good book. Actually, I'm told it's incredibly good. I haven't read it myself, but I'm told it is phenomenal by a great young slip of a thing, young author. What a great guy! I'm told he is, and
he's cool. Yeah, he is pretty cool. Yeah,
he is. He's just an all-round great person. Does a lot for charity, apparently. Not really.
I love the aspect of the audiobooks. I really do. I have such a great time, and right now I'm listening to, Jeff Stevenson's, The Children of Hydesville, which,
yes.
Yeah. So that's, it's good. And the narrator is great. He really is. He kind of actually reminds me, like, if Jeff were the one to sit down and narrate his book, that to me that's what it would sound like, so I think it's a great narrator that we have.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Jeff Stevenson sadly no longer with us, but hopefully we will do his memory proud of the audiobook. That's one I'm going to make an effort to, even if I put it on and go to sleep, so I'm listening to it in my sleep. I really want to.
That's that though. It's scary. You don't want to have that rolling around in your head while you're sleeping, though, with you.
Well, there's a lot of weird shit rolling around in my head when I'm sleeping. That really wouldn't really, no, it wouldn't make a lot of difference. It's pretty scary. Anybody who's read any of my books knows it's pretty scary in there. This is how narcissistic I am. I've actually got a copy of Peed on my desk here in front of me. And it's there. I like it. Say again.
I have been carrying around my newest Without the Confines. I've been carrying it around with me. Like I'll leave a room and it'll come with me. And
are you know all these first people that go into Starbucks and sort of get the book out and hoping somebody will come and say, oh, who's that by? Why it's me. It's me,
I could just like accidentally leave them in doctor's offices. I should do that. That's a good idea.
I've heard of authors that literally sort of doing stealth bombing their books into like bookstores and libraries, just leaving them in bookstores on the shelf. Well, what a great idea! That's a lovely idea. Just go do that. I mean, it'd be brilliant.
I think I might.
We should do that. We should get all our authors to just, take at least one book to a local bookstore, just leave it.
That's a good idea. Yep, I think we should do that.
Let's organise that. It's almost like a flash mob type thing. So,
I love them. Yeah.
So, anywho, they were very big, sort of 10, 15 years. I think they'd probably be. Yeah. I think the thing is that if they try the flash mob here in America now, I mean, they'd all get shot. The police would shoot them because they were a group.
Mob mentality.
So, hey, Xtina, what have we got going on this evening?
I'm excited. This evening we have, let's see, for our first segment, we have the Bram Stoker Award nominee, dark thriller and psychological suspense author, Brian Kirk. I'm excited. And for our second segment, we have erotic author, CJ Cassidy. And I have tried to get him on for a while now, so it's about time he, agreed to come on.
Is that it's going to be steamy for the second half? We like a bit of steam.
It is. I've read the excerpt. Yeah.
Bit of twitching and moisture. Twitching and moisture. We'll have to wheel out the Xtina moisture scale again and see how steamy that is. But before that, he's probably bored waiting now. So I'm going to let you introduce our first guest.
Okay, our first guest is dark thriller and psychological suspense author Brian Kirk. Woo!
Well, good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on. You know what? I need to. You must have pulled that from. I need to update my website, I guess. Dark thriller, psychological suspense. That must have been when I was going for an agent, because I'm a horror author.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You daren't mention the H word because I think you just get blacklisted.
Totally. No, I'm totally teasing. Yeah. I remember doing that. I remember calling myself a suspense author. Yeah, when I was going for agents. Yeah. No, it's just horror. How you guys doing?
Awesome. It's been a day. It has been a day. I'm finally relaxing, and I'm doing my nails because that relaxes me. So I'm doing my nails.
What color?
And pink, actually.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah, I do like pink. Yeah. So
I was enjoying the conversation about Chernobyl. I've been thinking about that recently. Sorry to jump in here, but do you think there's anything curious about the timing of the release of that show?
Well, no. Tell me what you do.
Go on.
Yeah. Why?
So I love conspiracy theories. I don't believe in them, but I love them. I love to think about them. I love to I love to go down the rabbit hole of them. And there is a conspiracy theory that, like, the Pentagon has kind of secret agents within Hollywood and so forth. And, for the last few years, what's been the biggest news story? One of the biggest news stories, obviously, is that Russia, is masters of espionage. And I think we've kind of had egg on our face due to, Russian espionage. They've kind of been owning us a little bit. That can be argued. So this feels like almost like it could be an anti-propaganda type show that says, you know what, Russia ain't that great either. That was just one of the things that struck me. It just, what's that?
There may well be something in that. I would not be surprised.
That's how it felt. It just felt like, it's a true story, so it's not made up. It'd be one thing if they just, were like, it was this nuclear disaster and it happened, and it was all fictional, and Russia was the culprit. So, it's a true event. It's just an interesting coincidence of timing, I think. But it was a really heart-wrenching show and important. But yeah, part of me when I finished, I was like, man, I wonder if that's us throwing a little stink back at Russia.
I've got quite possibly, yeah. Yeah. It's funny that there hasn't been I don't know. They did. Wasn't the China syndrome? Wasn't that about the 3 Mile Island disaster? Or it was.
I don't recall.
On the 3 Mile Island disaster. Again, similar idea, similar meltdown. It wasn't quite as big a disaster as Chernobyl, but I don't think it's been. I can't imagine an American nuclear mishap having a 5-part HBO series. To be honest.
No, I wouldn't think so. Yet, let's wait a little while because we have those things all over the San Andreas Fault.
Okay.
Yes, probably on the face of the earth, the worst place to build a nuclear power station. Let's build it on one of the biggest volcanic tectonic faults on the planet. There's a good idea. There's a good idea.
I don't really get it. I'm not the brightest guy on earth, but I would imagine if I was in that boardroom, I would have shut that idea down.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like the whole thing with the Chernobyl thing. The safety test that they did. Everybody was saying, don't do it. No, you can't do that. You can't do. Let's get the power down to this, down to, until they got to that point of no return. And then, of course, whoever's bright idea it was to stick graphite on the end of the control rods. So, because it was cheap. He said it was cheap. That's why we did it. It was the cheap alternative. And that literally was the detonator. The guy pressed the detonator. And to be fair, anybody with, even my knowledge of, from back in high school knowledge of how nuclear reactors work, no, don't put graphite is not a good idea, really. Not in those circumstances. But, it was absolutely fascinating how they explained it. But I think more than anything was the human cost. The guys, as Xtina said, the guys who were just knowingly walking into it, knowing damn well that, the firefighters didn't know. They were told it was just a fire on the roof. They didn't know that the roof wasn't bloody there.
and the reactor was open to everything, and they just got massive doses of radiation. We saw what happened to them, massive dose of radiation, because again, nobody told. And the whole thing with they managed to get a moon rover was it a Mars rover from NASA? Mm-hmm. But because they basically gave them the wrong figure for the radiation, it died within like 2 minutes, because they said, well, they gave them the propaganda figure, not the real one. So, but that again, that is the West, very much the West. I mean, you may have hit the nail on the head there. I mean, again, I remember the years of the Cold War. From back in my high school days. And it was all Russia is all about. Sorry, the Soviet Union, as it was all about propaganda and lies and misinformation and dictatorship and that. And, that's what we were being told. It may not have been like that.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite part was the naked co-workers.
Oh my God, I know, right?
They were great, yeah. I mean, it's funny when
if it was a NASA rover or a fleet of naked co-workers, I'd definitely go with the naked co-workers.
Well, when the guy said, you should wear something, and it's all, will it make any difference? I said, well, no. So fine, that's one point.
Well, I like the foreman dude. He was like, "We're wearing the freaking hats,
Yeah, I've got my hat on.
That was good. I
that is true. Yeah.
I was wondering where you're going to get a group with that many men that are okay to stand there naked, and so that was kind of cool.
I'd do it.
Yeah.
The thing is,
I bet they didn't even get paid. I guarantee you they didn't. I bet they did that for pro bono.
Yeah, when I did that, I was asked to leave Walmart. So, one rule for coal workers in the Soviet Union, one rule for Ex-Pat Brits in Walmart. So, racist is what it is, racist.
It is. Mm-hmm. It's just awful. I was, you watched The Handmaid's Tale, James. Did you see any of the new season yet?
Any of what? Handmaid's Tale? No, that's on the next thing I'm going to binge watch. Is it good?
Well, we've only seen the first episode so far, and I think they released 3 of them. And I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with this new season. So I have high hopes for it. I mean, I saw the trailer and it looked pretty good. So it's been great so far. So I just. It's always hard to tell. I know that I was watching this one show, Wentworth, I think it was, and I saw a bunch of seasons, and then the last one that they came out with, I think it was like last year, I was totally, I don't know, I couldn't connect with the new people. They were, just trying to thrust in my face and make me like these people, and thinking I don't know them, and I don't care about them, and so, I don't know, I was kind of turned off. So you never know where a new season's going to take you, if you're going to like what direction they're going in, because it's something different. But I think it's going to be really good. So we'll just have to see.
So I just, for anyone who's just tuned in, welcome to James and Xtina's TV review hour. But anyhow, Brian is here to talk to us about his book, Will Haunt You. I love the tagline, actually. You don't read this book, it reads you. I absolutely love to steal that, to be honest. So, Brian, tell us more about it, sir.
Absolutely. Well, that's my most recent novel through Flame Tree Press. I guess it came out in April of this year, so just recently. I love urban legends. So I'm a sucker for urban legends, and I wanted to create one myself. So it was interesting. My intention with Will Haunt You was really to create kind of an urban legend, and I knew that involved a book. So the book was almost an afterthought. Like I knew I had to write a book, but really all I wanted to do was create an urban legend. So what it basically is it's a book written by this mysterious figure who preys upon the people who read it. So as you're reading the book, you're reading about what happened to the last person to read the book before you, and you're next.
Oh, wow. I like that. That's awesome.
That's clever. Probably too clever for me to keep up, to be honest. That's very clever.
Well, thank you. So I don't know. So I created this whole kind of mystique and world and urban legend around it. I did what I call a prequel. So I created this whole kind of urban legend that led into the story itself, which was titled Obsidio, and Obsidio is Latin for to be haunted. And I don't know if you guys ever caught this, but if your listeners or if you guys after the show, just do the story of Obsidio or Obsidio Will Haunt You, and you'll see this whole kind of creepypasta style interactive prequel that I wrote that kind of gives the backstory of how this book came to be.
I have to tell you, I love urban legends, and I remember, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, I had a book of it. It was called something like the complete, book of urban legends, and just reading through some of them, they're so freaking creepy. And then you mentioned creepypasta, and I remember, I think it was on YouTube where I saw this. I think it was called like the Russian sleep study or something like that. It was.
Yes. Yep.
And I did not know that it wasn't real. So I'm reading this thing.
Oh, really?
I had no idea, so it totally freaked me out. And, even after I learned, the creepypasta and everything, I'm still not completely, sure
that creepypasta, yeah, obviously it's not an Italian dish. What is it? I honestly, truthfully, no idea what is creepypasta.
Xtina, do you want me to take that, or you want me to take that?
No, let Brian take it, because I'm bored with Xtina.
So creepypasta, it's kind of a goofy name. Yeah, you think it's a dish. I guess it was named after copy and paste. So basically what it is there's these this kind of style of online short fiction that's written realistically. They're meant to feel and sound and seem like real life stories, real events. Mm-hmm. They're all written anonymously, so there's never really an author behind it. They're usually done through Reddit or 4chan or some sort of social site. And it's just hey, this is something that happened, and they're so freaky. But the reason it's called creepypasta is because these things they became viral. And at the time, the way they became viral was people would copy and paste them into their own feeds and distribute it that way. So how it became from copy and paste to creepypasta, who knows? You know what I mean? But yeah, to be honest, I think it's one of the scariest forms of a horror fiction. One of the scariest contemporary forms of horror fiction.
Wasn't that how the Slender Man thing? Was that was a creepypasta that came about?
Say that again.
Huh.
Well, Slender Man.
Slender Man, yes. Slender Man is creepypasta, 100%. There's actually a documentary. It's old now, but HBO did a documentary on Slender Man where these two, unfortunately, kind of mentally ill girls, got so wrapped up into that urban legend that they almost committed homicide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was.
And there's the more recent one. I was from my daughter, a 10-year-old. Is Mimo? Again,
Momo, yeah.
Momo,
same
that's
thing,
it.
yeah. Those things, creepypasta, because they're told anonymously and they're meant to, be believed. They are believed, and that's what I was trying to get at with Will Haunt You.
Yeah.
Is that to be honest, my goal with Will Haunt You was to create a book that felt like you were playing with a Ouija board, because I won't play with Ouija boards. Yeah, no, I won't do it. Yeah, I'm too superstitious, and the downside is, I don't think anything's going to happen, but I don't even want to, find out, So.
I grew up, in a really religious home, so you bring out the Ouija board, I'm leaving.
Yeah. So in order to a Ouija board without any sort of superstitious backstory would just be a board game, created by Hasbro. You can buy it at you could.
It was originally brought out as like you say, it's just a toy.
Yeah. So I knew I had to, in order to kind of create the effect I wanted to with Will Haunt You, I had to people had to approach it with trepidation. So that's where I kind of invented this kind of prequel urban legend that preceded the novel itself. So that people came to the book hopefully with a sense of trepidation, similar to as I would approach a Ouija board. Is it even worth reading? So that was kind of the idea behind it.
Awesome. Brian. I want to hear more. Do you have a reading for us?
Yeah, I do. I could read it. I'm totally fine to read it. We can talk, or I can do a reading. Which would y'all prefer?
Well, you can do the reading, and then we can talk. How's that?
that totally works. Yeah. So I had pulled out. You'd asked for a kind of a 5-minute segment, which I've clipped out. It's always interesting trying to find 5 minutes of narrative from a novel. You know what I mean? That has a kind of a beginning and an end within context. But I've done my best, and hopefully this will be a nice sample of the material. So basically, Will Haunt You is again, it's a story. It's a book created by this mysterious figure who preys upon the people who read it. The protagonist is a guy named Jesse Wheeler, and Jesse Wheeler is the former lead guitarist of a heavy metal group called the Rising Dead. He's a recovering alcoholic. His band broke up about 7 years ago due to many things, but part of what caused him to break up was his drug and alcohol addictions. He has recently read the book that you're holding yourself, and he's a skeptic, so he discounted the folklore associated with it, but he's about to find out that the urban legend is true. So he's just finished this reunion show with his old bandmates, and he's driving his old lead singer home, who's passed out in the passenger seat.
It's all yours.
All right. I remember looking down on the front console right as the clock struck midnight and being happy that I'd made it through another day, feeling a mixture of pride and shame over having put myself in this position in the first place, wondering where the scale tipped in terms of trade-offs, what the biggest mistake had been, the lifestyle or bringing others into the mix. Would things have gotten so bad if I'd never met Cassie, if we'd never had rocks? Here I am thinking back on the last 7 years, how much I've changed in such a small amount of time. Wishing I could bring the two versions of myself together and work out a reconciliation. Find a way to forgive myself and move on. The night had been a blast. Being back on stage, back with my old bandmates, back in a seedy bar with loose rules and women. But how long would it take for the old patterns to reemerge? I couldn't afford to find out. I just recently got into a place where I could even look at rocks without cringing, where I could look in the mirror without averting my eyes. Nothing was worth giving that up now. Certainly not a night of blurry memories followed by a crushing hangover, no matter how much fun it felt at the time. Felt like I'd passed some kind of test, and it felt good. I glanced back down at the stereo, and it was still midnight, making this the longest minute of my life. Thought maybe the clock had stopped, so I counted to 60 in my head and looked again. The glowing red digits remained at 12. Fine, whatever. I started watching the yellow line bifurcating the road, the pulsing stripes ticking by like seconds. Personal Jesus by Depeche Mode was just coming to an end on the radio. Caspin would have hated that one too, but I didn't mind it. Better than coffin dust, that's for sure. The late shift DJ spoke over the fading track, his voice soft and gravelly, like they'd just woken him up and stuck a mic under his nose. Welcome to the midnight hour. We've got a long night ahead of us, and it's just getting started. It's dark out tonight. Quiet. Half the world lost in delirium of sleep, while the other half toils away their sad, meaningless lives, counting down the days towards their inevitable death. I snorted laughter. Sounded like someone had gone off his Zoloft. And out there right now, a lone rider drives down an empty highway, listening. An old acquaintance sleeps beside him, snoring like little baby Jesus in his cradle made of hay. That was a little strange. I stiffened and cocked my head. Looked down to see the clock still stuck at 12. The yellow hash marks flashed by. The DJ chuckled, a deep rattling grumble laced with lung plaque. That's right, the midnight hour. Let's get things started with our first guest of the evening. Get up close to that mic there and tell us your name. That chuckle again, like a death rattle. Kevin, the guest said. He sounded hesitant, scared. All right, yeah. So Kevin, welcome to the midnight hour. Do you have any requests for us tonight? The guest said something that sounded like, want to me? But had moved away from the mic so it was hard to hear. Then he grunted in pain and brought his mouth to the mic again. Okay, he said, his voice wavering, breathing hard. He's listening? Yes, I assure you. We have his complete and undivided attention right now. Go ahead. I must have gotten a bigger contact buzz than I realized. I'm feeling the paranoia you get when the trip goes sideways. Hey, I said to Caspian, trying to wake him up, but my voice sounded frail and pathetic and vanished as soon as it escaped my mouth. His answer was a riotous snore. A loud, despondent exhale reverberated through the car speakers. All right, then. Hey, Jesse. A pause, followed by another loud exhale. Man, I don't know what you've gotten into, but there's some dudes here looking for you. Rough bunch, man. I guess you're driving home right now? This is coming through your car radio? They lifted me from the lot. Been watching, I guess. Fucked me up good. It was Kevin, no doubt about it. He had never come back from banging that chick out in the lot. That had even happened. Had that been a ruse? Was this some kind of twisted stunt? So it was fantastically authentic. Kevin spoke like he was chewing cotton balls, or else his jaw was broken. Hey, I grabbed Caspian by the shoulder and shook. Dude, wake the fuck up. Caspian gurgled and a string of drool wetted his chin. I needed a second set of ears on this, so I gripped his jaw and pressed his face against the headrest hard, looking helplessly at the white crescents of his vacant eyes. His head bobbed forward as soon as I let go. So, man, listen, Kevin continued in that thick, swollen voice. I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to say, but I wouldn't fuck with these guys if I were you, okay, man? Whatever this is over, just do what they want you to do. These guys, man, wearing masks and shit. Fucking Halloween shit here. More breathing. The road hissed under the tires. Look, I don't know what y'all want me to say. You're doing fine, Kevin. Just fine. This is the midnight hour. Longest hour of the night. In fact, tonight it may never end. But you'll want it to, Jesse. You'll beg for it to be over. Do things you never thought you were capable of to make it stop. You ready for that? Right then, the interior lights cut off. The headlights sputtered and faded. The car engine seemed to choke. Then the engine died completely, and we were coasting, the steering wheel stubborn in my hands. And that's my 5 minutes.
Wow, I like that. That was good.
I was reading along with you. You weren't done yet. I'm looking at more here.
I can keep going. That was my 5 minute mark. If you want me to go to the end, I could.
Awesome.
No, that's and I'm sure Xtina could get a grown up to finish reading it for her later.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks.
Yeah, so that's right at the mark where he kind of realized, you know what, I may be in trouble here, and he is in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble.
No, that sounds brilliant. That sounds. I knew you read it. You read it really well. You should do the audiobook version yourself, I'd say.
I appreciate that. No, there is an audio version. The guy did a fantastic job. I actually just listened to it recently. Mm-hmm. He performed it very well. So I actually, you know what I thought about doing, to be honest, because he does it so much better, is I thought about just playing his version.
We've had authors do that, bring in their audio.
That's cheating. That's cheating.
Yeah,
to be honest.
It is totally cheating.
It's not. No, we've had authors bring in their audio. And
to be fair, we've had authors us read for, and any author that's had Xtina read for them has instantly regretted it. It's terrible. Absolutely awful.
Oh, you know what?
I appreciate you giving me that opportunity. Yeah. No, that's actually only the second time I've read that. I went up to. Are you familiar with the publisher Cheesing out of Toronto?
No.
Well, they call Cheesing. It looks like Chizing, Chizine. Mm-hmm. Good medium press publisher. Anyway, they do a reading series up in Toronto, and invited me up there, and I read that bit. So I guess this is the second time I've read it.
You did a good job.
Good. You did well. You did. So I mean, I've got to ask. I mean, I'm first of all, I'm impressed that you set out to create an urban legend. That's ambitious, I have to say. So, what are your favorite urban legends?
I like the old school ones. I mean, I love the creepypasta kind of trend that's going on now. I think that is such great work. What I love about that work, again, is that it's anonymous, so we don't know who these authors are. And I think that's really, it's such scary, good, effective horror that I want to know who these people are. You know what I mean? I want to know who's writing these things. And I love the fact that they're so mysterious. But I like the old school stuff. I mean, I like Bloody Mary. To this day, you put me in front of a mirror and tell me to conjure Bloody Mary. I'm going to have a little bit of a heart palpitation.
Yep,
in fact, I probably wouldn't even do it. You know what I mean? I just wouldn't even be like, no, I don't want to.
Well, I say just to humiliate you, my daughter did this like when she was a year when she was 9, because she was into she got into the bloody. She was Bloody Mary for Halloween, I think 2 years ago. And she's totally fearless. I think Bloody Mary, if she existed, would be just too scared to come out in front of my daughter, to be honest, because she's a frightening child. But and it's one of those things that really, I think, could really only happen in this day and age of social media. You imagine even, say 30 years ago, it really wouldn't have spread. Like Candyman, Clive Barker wrote Candyman, his based short story of his from Books of Blood. Again, he created that. He set out to write about urban legends and created Candyman. Right. It's an idea, you say Candyman 3 times, which I have now, and he's not here. So, big disappointment.
Not yet.
No,
there you go, Brian.
You never know. He may turn up, but doubt it.
What do you think do you remember the Mothman prophecies?
Yes.
Yes, I saw that film. Yeah. I saw the film, which was... it was all right, actually. It was okay.
I'll actually tell you.
The devil in the village thing with the hoofs and everything. You remember that one? The Jersey Devil? That's the one.
Yeah. Well, I guess those get mixed up with what's it called? Not cryptology, but what's the term for that? There's a term for kind of the Jersey Devil.
Cryptology or something, which is
cryptozoology. Now that I think about it, the scariest urban legend, it may have just been a story that was written in I'm drawing a blank on it, so I won't. But I think it was a story that got turned into an urban legend. Is the calls coming from inside the house? The first time I heard the calls coming from inside the house, that's the most scared I've ever been in my entire life. I've never been as scared as that since. That's the most scared I've ever been.
Yeah. That would work. That would be brilliant today on with cell phones. You get a text and the text, it's coming from inside the house. Or in fact, to be fair, they'd have to say it's pinged from a nearby cell tower. Not quite the same, because that's how anybody knows how cell phones work. But it's. Although where do urban legends stop and your conspiracy theories start? There's this whole uproar about 5G at the moment that, the microwave power it puts out is enough to cook a small chicken or some such, and you get the tinfoil brigade are upset about getting the brains fried and whatnot. Where is that line?
Mm-hmm.
I know what you. Yeah, no, I don't know. I think direct experience is a line. I just go by direct experience. But but I love those are just fun. I just love going down the rabbit holes. Without getting too wrapped up into belief. I just think they're entertaining. But in terms of those urban legends, for whatever reason, they scare me. They've always scared me. I'm really superstitious. I don't mean to be. I think superstition is silly, and I don't want And I think manufactured fear is a detriment, and and those two things kind of go together. And so this was kind of Will Haunchy was my kind of, I call it exposure therapy. It was me going into all the superstitions and all the ways that I manufacture fear in my own life. And confronting them in the most direct ways I possibly could, and trying to transfer that on to a reader. That's what the book was. That's how I approached that book.
I have to read this.
It's scaring you as a writer, and from the snippet you just read, it comes across. It comes out of writing that you're not just doing it just for just to make the enormous amount of money those writers earn, but, if it is something that frightens you genuinely, they say write yourself, and I always do, write what creeps me out, and I couldn't imagine doing it another way, to be honest.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. No, I gave up the illusion of being of writing for money pretty early on. Actually, before I even started, because I read so many books written by people who I aspired to be that were like, if you're writing for money, to be honest, my expectation, I had proper expectations coming into this, but even those expectations, I thought there would be more. I really did. I thought there would be more. But it's okay. You know what I mean? Because, I'm not going to quit. I did it before, and I'm not going to stop, and I love it just as much now as I ever have before. So it's all good. But absent of money, you got to write what gets you off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hate to say this, but we are out of time for our first segment, Brian. But you have to promise. I know you have to promise to come back and see us, and I'll have you come back for the whole entire show, and we'll just chat about whatever shows and superstitions and urban legends. It'll be a blast. So you have to promise.
I promise. Hey, thanks for having me. It went by super fast. Y'all have a great second segment, and we'll talk next time.
Yeah,
thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure, Brian. Much appreciated, and we will speak to you again.
Sounds good. Cheers, guys.
Okay, cheers. Bye-bye. And we will be right back after this.
Radio Show is sponsored by Hellbound Books, purveyors of all manner of dark fiction. You can find the publisher along with links to all their available works across platforms at hellboundbookspublishing.com. Hellbound Books is proud to be the first in the indie publishing business with a very own app on both Google Play and the App Store. In the mood for something steamy to read, check out new erotica author Jennifer Lynn's website at jenniferlynnerotica.com. You can find James at his website, www.jameslongmore.com, and Xtina has an author page found on the Hellbound website. Don't forget to follow the Panic Room Radio Show on social media. Our Facebook page, Unofficial The Panic Room Radio Show, Twitter at Panic Room Radio, our YouTube channel, The New Panic Room Radio Show, and come visit our website at www.panicroomradio.com.
Part 2.
Well, are you back, Xtina? Did you make it back from the toilet in time?
I did. You know, I sit here and I listen to this.
She messaged me, she's gone for a wee. Went for a bit of a wee. Did you sneak out a Tooza while you were there as well?
Oh my God, no! I had to actually put on the last coat of my clear, the clear nail polish. So that's what I've been doing this whole time. Is it's relaxing. It's a way for me to unwind and relax. And I did find that if I'm stressed out, I can just start doing my nails and I calm down. So.
Right. And why are you stressed out specifically?
Oh.
What's going on in your life?
Yeah, exactly. I have a teenage boy, and he's off from school right now. And as soon as I get up in the daytime, I have to hear "Mom, Mom, Mom, Mom," like
Mommy,
20
Mom,
times.
Mom. And I have exactly the opposite. My boy is he's 17 in September, and I was very proud. He landed himself a job at Sonic around the corner, and kind of fell at the first hurdle with it because he's not actually, I know he's made a connection. I just had to speak to him today, and so you do realize you do actually have to go in.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just like, he just looks at me like, I said, well, when are you going to get what we call? Oh, well, when I want to. Well,
Wow.
Really, it just got. I had to walk away from that conversation because I was just that unimpressed. I don't know. I don't know what it is. He obviously he's reverted back to playing PlayStation all night, sleeping most of the day. And so don't fucking whine when you haven't got the car that you wanted, because I ain't buying you it. even if I could afford it. No, seriously. I mean, if that's his attitude, then I'm sorry. No, it ain't happening. And I'm disappointed. I have to say, very disappointed. I expected more, to be honest. But hey,
Right. I have to say, I have a 21-year-old daughter, and she's working now, which anyway.
Right.
And I am proud of her because her father, the man she grew up with as a father was a pretty not a real good role model and never could hold down a job. And so I was now that she's had this job for quite some time, and I'm like so proud of her. I mean, it's just a little thing. She has a job, but I'm like,
great, brilliant,
grown up. Yeah, she's taking care of herself, and it's awesome. And then my son, like I said, 15, and he's a good boy, but because he is, I think he's bored. But the kids don't behave the same way they used to when we were kids. I mean, summertime would come around, and you'd never see me. I would be outside, I'd be with my friends, I'd be gone. And the kids just don't have the same relationships as they did back then. I mean, he has friends, but not the kind of friends that we had. It's not like, hey, let's go to the park. Hey, let's, go to the mall. They don't do that. They, I'm hanging out with my friend means texting my buddy. I mean, that's what,
playing online, PlayStation games. Well, here's my daughter, my 10-year-old. We recently moved, and she's got a friend she knows from school, literally across the street. And she'll go across the court, and the parents will say, no, she's not coming out. I thought, what? My parents, my mate would come and say, Peter's here, I'll go, basically push me out of the house, go play. And I'd be gone all day with my mate, And, I had to go across because, I had to go and ask if she could come over, sleep over, and, they wanted to meet me, which is, I guess, fair enough. But, they were saying, well, we sort of restrict to playing out with because we don't want to get fed up with each other. And like you said, in my day, if we got fed up with each other, well, I used to hang out with my mate, and then, every now and then we just not hang out for a day or two because we just had too much of it. We'd play with somebody else or just hang out at home or whatever. The parents didn't manage us like that. If the kids get fed up with each other, so fucking what? That's part of it. No, you can have an hour here and an hour there. Seriously, stop controlling your fucking children. Let them be kids. You know? My daughter comes home upset. You know, her parents won't let them come out. Let her come out. You know, and, but on the plus side, she then gives me a big cuddle and says, "I'm really, really pleased you're my dad. You're so cool because you let me do things."
You are a cool dad.
She's got green hair. She's got one side of her head shaved. I mean, she's just, you know,
I admire her. I do. She's badass. She really is.
She's badass, but because I'm not trying to manage her every minute. You know, so go out and play. Fine, go. You know, she's got a phone. We didn't have the phones when I was a kid. You know, and so I would go out. You know, from in school holidays, I'd go out from whatever 9 o'clock in the morning, as long as I was home before it got dark, which could be 8, half 8 at night. That was it. My parents sometimes would go all day not seeing me.
Yeah. Same for me. Yeah. I can't get rid of my kids, so I seriously cannot get rid of them. I'm always joking. Do you have friends? Can you go somewhere? You know, do you want to spend some time with your sister? And
it was. I mean, my daughter, because a friend couldn't come out, and she was kind of. And I've been working flat out for the past week or so on a couple of projects, and you know, because I had to chat with them. Look, you know, obviously, yes, I'm at home, but I have to work. This is my office. I have to work. Just because I'm home doesn't mean I'm, available 24/7. However, you know, I'm starting off feeling a bit bad. She's upset. But then again, my parents didn't feel the need to entertain me 24/7. You know, we'd go do things, and I was left to my own device. Entertain yourself. You've got games. I mean, they've got so much more now. Obviously, they've got all the electronics and everything. We used to play board games. We'd go on our bikes and just make our own stuff up, you know. I once read a great quote, and I can't remember where I read it now. It was one of the best things you can do for your kids is to let them be bored. You know, you have these, and I speak to other parents, and we do this, we do that, Literally every minute of every day, these kids are either not asleep or at school. They've got everything planned for them. Just let them just sit and be bored. And my daughter said, "Well, I'm bored." Fine, great. And to be fair, no, honestly, and I'll guarantee it, they're not bored for long. They will find something to do, or they're imagine. Probably why I guess our generation was great generations. Kids now, all their thinking is done for them, and we will probably be the last great, generation of imagining, artists, because it's just not there anymore, I'm afraid. It's sad. It really is sad.
It is.
So I'm depressed now. I need cheering up with something steamy that's going to get things twitching. Yes. So I think I'm going to let you introduce our next guest.
I'm excited too. We have erotica author C.J. Cassidy. Woo!
I'm hoping I've got two. I'm hoping this is CJ. Is this CJ?
This is CJ.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing? I'm good.
What a great voice. What an absolutely mellifluous voice. I love it.
Thank you. I want to thank you and James and Xtina for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming on. I know Xtina's been stalking you for quite some time, I understand.
Yes, she has. Can you get her out of my bushes, please?
No. I mean, it's funny. A lot of people often say to Xtina, "Get off my lawn." So she's kind of used to it, I'm afraid. No, you're stuck with it. As long as she's not in my bushes, happy. She's someone else's problem. Fantastic.
Yeah, but I get my way that way. I mean, I did have another author that I have been, pestering for quite some time. Was finally like, "You don't give up, do you?" No, I don't give up. I mean, but. You're here.
To be fair, they only come on the show then because it is cheaper to come on the show than to actually get a restraining order. So,
that's how they shut me up. Exactly.
Hey, whatever works. It means, Xtina crams the show with some fantastic authors. So I'm not going to complain. I'm a happy bunny with it all. That was great.
Yeah. I was going to say, I can't, that they come on to try to, shut me up. But who knows? I don't know why they come back again. They always agree to come back again. So that's on them.
Because they're just terrified you're going to turn up in their vestibule.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have to be very careful when you talk to an Arctic author about a restraining order. It means a completely different thing.
I like it. And it's funny when you we do have, and I've written a bit of steaminess myself. After so long, everything sounds like a double entendre, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
Literally. Literally everything out of your mouth, in your mouth, I suppose, it becomes rude. So, CJ is here to talk about his book, The Tortured Soul Trilogy of Pain and Pleasure. I'm hooked already. So tell us a little bit about it.
Basically what it is, I was an unknown author, and one of my readers contacted me and asked me to write her biography. And I said, sure, I've never done a biography before. And I started working on her novel, and we were doing snail mail to protect her identity, talking about the book. And I wrote about 100 pages, and then it became BDSM. And I said, I don't want to write this. I don't want to be an erotic author. I don't write these kind of novels. And she said, you really need to get my story out there. Could you please reconsider? And I'm glad I did, because after I published the novel, approximately 50 women got out of their abusive relationships after reading the book.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was very cathartic for a lot of women. I never realized how many people related to Catherine, Jennifer, one of the other subjects of the book, and Lady Latex. And one young lady, after reading one of my books, wrote to me and said, I want to thank you because I thought I was the only one. And I literally almost started to cry because I never realized there were more women out there who experienced the same thing that these three young ladies were experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's phenomenal. To have that kind of effect on people's lives is, you must be delighted you stuck with it. I mean, why did you not want to do that? Was it you just felt uncomfortable with the subject matter, or just wasn't a thing?
Well, I was uncomfortable with the subject matter. I wasn't an erotic author, and I still don't consider myself an erotic author. I write about the human condition, the trials and tribulations. It just so happens that now my characters, or the people I write about, like to fuck a lot.
Hey, who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. So the book was really more about Catherine's journey to come out of an abusive relationship and have more control of the pain that she was receiving. And I was very touched by her story. It was very amazing.
Now, what did you write before?
Basically, I wrote romantic comedies, horror, science fiction, anything but erotica. And I really, like I said, I at the time, and we're talking about, this is now about 13 years ago when I wrote the book, erotica was not a big thing. There was no, I'm not going to mention the name of that book, but that book didn't exist.
No, I wouldn't, because you'll just get me started, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, and there was no real audience for that. At least I didn't know of it, but I didn't know there was an underground audience for that type of a book. And so the funny thing was happened is I didn't want to write it. I really wanted to be talked into it. So I went to my pastor to ask him about why, should I write this book? And as I walked into his office, he turned to his wife and said, "Lean not into your own understanding." And the hairs on my arms just raised up, because I realized that in that statement he answered my question. And I wrote and published the book.
Excellent.
You know, I have to ask because I need to know what church you go to, because my pastor, I doubt, would have said the same thing, because, you know, he's all
throwing you out.
Well, technically, he wasn't speaking to me. I just happened to walk in just as he said that passage.
Oh, nice.
You know, and
so
that's
look,
how,
hey,
you know.
so we have a caller, which is a rare event. So I think they don't want to talk to us. Obviously, they want to talk to CJ. So let's bring our call. Hello, caller. Hello,
Molly.
Hello.
I think she fell asleep.
Probably.
Right.
Hello.
Oh, there she is.
I'm here.
Hello. You have a question for Steve? We can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good. Well, we can hear you. So,
hi, it's Molly.
Do you have a question for CJ?
Yes, I do. And
Go
hi, Brett Daddy. Hello, Brett Daddy. This is caffeinated Brett. Anyway, I do have a question. I've read several of your novels. Clantown series, Tortured Soul trilogy, Psychosis and Dementia, The Switch 1 and 2. The one thing that I noticed, I've noticed like a subtle bleed with a few of the characters. So if you think about, the story begins with what if, every story does. So I wonder what would happen if all of your characters from your books came together in a new story. It seems like some characters do cameos in your books.
Yes, I do
from one
do
book
that.
to the other.
Yes, I do that. I have a lot of crossovers in my books in which characters from one book do show up in another, because in this world we all pass through each other's lives. It's kind of like 6 degrees of separation, and you never know who you meet in your own life. Now, in Catherine, and I have to tell you that Tortured Soul trilogy is based on actual events. It is a biography of this young lady and what she went through in her life. But I like to bring in other people because I deal with that. What if Catherine met with this character, or Catherine met with that, or if Catherine happened to show up in one of these other books, what would be the interaction between those people?
Yeah, the last book that I read was The Way of the Winter Wolf, and Catherine appeared in that book.
Yes. Catherine and Jennifer, because of their background, also help other women who are in abusive relationships. And The Way of the Winter Wolf is a book about a woman who is dealing with her own abusive life, and they go in there basically to give comfort and support to her to get her out of her own situation.
Yeah. I really appreciate you answering these questions. Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Molly.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Xtina, I would love to know which one of your books is your favorite poem. You have a new release.
I do. So you're asking what my favorite book is, or what my favorite poem is?
What your favorite poem is.
Oh, my God. You know how many poems I have written?
Yes, Xtina. Which one is your favorite child?
Thanks. You know, I have so many favorites. I really do. And I have to say this last book of mine is probably, it is very close to my heart, just because it's, something different. It was out of my comfort zone that I decided to, try, and I really enjoyed it. And I described on one of the other shows that it's kind of like my way of almost snapping a photograph or a picture of a certain moment. I'm trying to, freeze like a certain moment in my writing. So that's what, this book, Without the Confines, really was. And so I have a lot of poems in there that I just absolutely love. And I think probably one of my favorites is called Little Things. And and I read that on, I think I...
Oh, you did? That was... Yeah. It was so touching. That was really sweet, even though it didn't rhyme. was really sweet. I did like that. Yeah. I think some rhymes would have made it better, to be honest.
Yeah.
Bit of rhyming. You can't be bothered, to be honest.
There was one thing I did forget to mention. The Tortured Soul trilogy. I read that over 2 years ago. And to this day, CJ, I still go back to certain chapters to relate them to current issues in my life. So yes, I find it incredibly helpful, that book.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm glad I was able to help.
Thank you.
And I do want to apologize to Molly. There was a show that we did, and she was on hold, and she sat on hold for like a half an hour, and I think James was, looking at the butterflies or the red balloons or something. Didn't see her. So.
Probably. Or maybe the squirrel ran by outside, and I'm gone. I'm just like, away with you.
My guys are silly.
My attention span is legendary. Always has been. Always from my very first school reports. I've just been very, very, very low attention span. But Molly, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Have a great evening. Bye bye. That's great. I mean, it must be. No, to be fair, no one has ever said anything I've written really has touched that. People said that I've made them cry, but in a good way.
Okay.
Touch people's lives in such a way, must make it all worthwhile. Yeah.
It absolutely makes it all worthwhile because I never expected that type of response to my novels. To have people write to me and say things like, "Your book saved my life," or "It's changed me," or I've changed the way I look at my relationship, because a lot of women are in abusive relationships and they think it's a BDSM relationship, and it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
And this book literally defines the difference between abuse and the lifestyle.
Well, that was one of the things. Again, I from that boring people who've heard it all before. I back in England, ran a business that had roots in the BDSM community, so I got to know the lifestyle pretty well. And then 50 Shades, the book that shall not be mentioned, came out.
Mm-hmm.
That, and again, within the community, that was seen as the relationship that the two had was abusive.
Right.
Because the contract never signed. He basically bullied her. He raped her, in effect.
Mm-hmm.
He bullied her into it. That, I would say, was pretty much an archetypal abusive relationship. He manipulated a young girl and abused her. I've known some of the certainly in England. I don't know anybody here actually in the States. Not I've gotten involved in, but in England, some of the nicest, most wonderful people you would ever want to meet. Brilliant.
Yes.
What a great crowd. What a fantastic crowd, and lovely, lovely people.
Now, the one thing I've noticed, the difference between abuse and BDSM is the difference between a barroom brawl and a professional wrestling match. In a barroom brawl, nobody cares who gets hurt or why. In a professional wrestling match, everything is thought out, it's planned out, and the two so-called opponents actually care about each other. And if something goes wrong, there's a referee in the ring that can stop it at any time. And once it's stopped, these two wrestlers are actually best friends. They drive in together to the thing. They take care of each other's families. If you got hurt in the ring, I take your kids to school, that type of a thing. So a lot of people don't realize that, and they confuse what they see with what is. Catherine made it very clear that she didn't want to know anyone to know who she was, and I didn't understand what that was until she got attacked on the internet. I was told that she was a coward and a hypocrite because, one, she refused to identify herself, and two, how can you be against abuse and yet get into the BDSM lifestyle? And they don't understand. It's not the same thing. One word ends a BDSM session. Nothing ends an abusive relationship.
I like that. I want to hear more of your book. Do you have a reading for us?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. Now, to set this up, Nicholas, who happens to be one of her coworkers, has realized that she's in an abusive relationship and gets her into therapy, but she feels that she needs more. And they get together and they discuss the contract, as James mentioned, of what has to be done, what will be allowed and what will not be allowed. And basically, this is their first meeting. Nick is the first one to speak. Mm-hmm. Good. Are there any other questions? No, I think that about covers it. I want to thank you, Catherine. For what? For asking. If everyone would just ask and then wait for an answer. Nick then reached for Catherine's glass, and she took it and finished it before giving it to him. Nick took it to the eat-in kitchen and turned back to Catherine and leaned on the table. Very well, then. Do you understand the rules as I've explained them? Yes. And are you going to abide by the rules? Yes. Yes, what? Yes, Nicky. Nicky stood up and unbuckled his belt. Yes, what? Catherine's eyes widened. Yes, Nick? Nick slowly slid his belt off by the buckle and held it in his hand and let it swing slowly as it dangled. Catherine watched the belt. She had no idea what he wanted her to say. Her heart pounded. Nick folded the belt in half and snapped it until it made a very loud pop. Catherine was startled. Yes, Daddy? Catherine stammered. Nick pulled out the chair away from his dining room table and sat down. Now come here, and he motioned for her to come to the side where he held the folded belt. Catherine stood up and hesitated. Nick snapped the belt on his thigh. Now! Yes, Daddy. Catherine sheepishly walked over to him and stood where he pointed to and stood there with her back to him. Her ass was close to his face and the belt in his hand. She smoothed out her pants. Nick reached over and fondled and squeezed her ass. Catherine moaned. Turn around and kneel, please. Yes, Daddy, and she did as she was told. Catherine started to shake. Nick took her arm with his left hand and laid her across the lap. Catherine whimpered. Pull down your pants, please. Yes, Daddy. Slowly she grabbed the waistline of her pants from behind her and shimmied out of them, revealing her soft, round bottom. Catherine was wearing white silk panties with a lace trim. Catherine's ass twitched in anticipation. Nick paused and waited a moment to let Catherine consider what was about to happen. As she shivered in Nick's lap, Nick hiked up her panties to reveal more of her tender flesh. Catherine cooed as the panties tightened on her crotch. Do I have your undivided attention, young lady? Yes, Daddy. I don't believe that I do. And Nick raised the belt and it made a sharp smack on her buttocks. Catherine inhaled deeply from the sting of the belt. She bit her lip and sighed. Oh, my. Catherine then arched her back, raising her ass just a little higher. Catherine purred. Nick hesitated, and Catherine became a little impatient. May I have another, Daddy? Yes, you may. And he pulled on the waist of her panties, giving her a tighter wedgie. Nicholas hit her with the belt again. Catherine cooed and purred. Oh, may I please have another, Daddy? And Nicholas struck her again and again. Catherine writhed and gyrated with every stroke. In between some strokes, he would stop to fondle her ass until she would relax and cool a bit, and then he would suddenly strike her again. Catherine felt as if she were a roller coaster ride with no idea when the next thrill would come. She had never experienced anything like this in her life. From where they were positioned, Nick was able to reach the kitchen table, and he stuck his left thumb into an open jar of jelly and placed his sweetened thumb into Catherine's open mouth. Catherine sucked his thumb voraciously, licking and sucking the jelly off his thumb with every stroke of the belt. Bad girl. Bad girl. Suddenly, Catherine pulled his thumb out of her mouth and shuddered violently. She began to breathe in short, quick breaths, and then she let out a high-pitched squeal. By the time Catherine came, her ass was a bright red. That's going to leave a mark, Nick said. Catherine giggled. Nick grabbed her by the scruff of her neck and stood her up. He stood up, and while still controlling her, he bent her over the back of the chair. Take your pants off, and then put your hands on the back of the chair. Catherine complied. Nick went and got an ice pack, now moistly melted, and gently massaged Catherine's exposed ass with it. Catherine jumped a bit when the cold bag touched her, but it began to soothe her. The water had formed outside the bag, trickled down her legs. Nick reached down between her legs and fondled her clit. Aha, Catherine cooed. You're all wet. Let me get you a towel. Nick left. Catherine stayed in that position until he returned with the towel. Nick took her panties down to her ankles, and Catherine stepped out of them, and then he gently wiped her ass and pussy with the towel. Ow, Catherine moaned. That hurts. It's supposed to hurt.
Nice. I love that. It's supposed to hurt.
It got really quiet.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. We were, in our own way, both Xtina and I, in our own little ways, we're living that, to be honest.
Oh, dear. That was good. That was really good.
Thank you. Basically, this was the first encounter that the two of them had after discussing the rules, and it basically set the standard as to what their relationship would be from then on in. Because, and I didn't mention this, Catherine happened to be his boss at their job.
Even better.
He was one of the senior employees there. She had been hired at a young age to take over the office and change the direction in which the company was going in. And Nick, working under her, basically thought, oh, great, here's someone with a new thought, a new vision, who's going to take the company into a new way. But then he realized, as time went on, and 5 years go on before they have this first encounter, that she's being abused by her lovers. She's in her 30s, but she looks like she's in her 20s, so she's dating younger men who don't understand her sexuality. So they try to control her by physically and emotionally abusing her. And it got to the point where it was dangerous for her because these men were trying to control her, but they didn't know how to, and they didn't know. There would be a point that he felt that one of these men were going to kill her because they didn't know when to stop. They would not stop.
I hate to do this to you, CJ, but we're out of time. It's going to cut us off if I don't say goodbye.
I love being edged.
Wow, yes. You have to promise to come back, though. We'll have you on for a full show, and we can have more readings and more,
that would be great. I would love it. I would love it.
Oh, definitely more reading. In fact, just get him on the show just to read the whole damn book. I mean, that was brilliant. I was enjoying that.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely. If you just quickly tell us where we can find you online, sir.
I can be found on Facebook under CEEJAY Cassidy. I have an Instagram account, and I have a MeWe account, and all my books are available on Amazon.com and Kindle, and that's all genres, whether it be erotica, romantic comedies, horror, science fiction, everything you want can be found there, and hopefully the Tortured Souls trilogy will be made into a film within the next couple of years.
Wow. Excellent. I will be first in the queue for that one. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, CJ.
And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. And Xtina, I'm afraid it's time to say good night, Xtina.
Good night, Xtina.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.